Hello. This is the second time of me trying to do this because the first time I got took down because there's one thing here that I cannot cover. Welcome back to the channel. It has been a little while since I was here, about 3.5 weeks, and, well, now I'm back. I was down in Virginia seeing my father and that side of the family, but now I'm back up here in my home state of Pennsylvania. And I've got a few things that I need to cover today, so we're going to get right into it. Right off the bat, I want to talk about Minecraft moderation. Now, back in 2020, there was a little bit of information about how Bedrock Edition was going to be moderated. But apparently, now Java is going to have it very soon. As we see here, and I'll be linking everything in the description below, player reporting in the Minecraft Java Edition. Gee, thank you, Microsoft. Our game brings millions of players together from all over the world, all united by the goal of crafting, exploring, and having fun. That's why it's so important for our game that our games are a safe and welcoming place for all players. Now that makes sense. And some of the things to talk about, such as imminent harm, child exploitation, terrorism, all that makes sense. Stuff like hate speech and harassment are very broad to define. However, some do make sense. But Minecraft Java Edition, if you go to Minecraft Moderation in GitHub, you will find that we've been self-moderating for a very, very long time. And there's absolutely no reason whatsoever to need this from Microsoft, because they will be having a supposedly highly trained team to review everything, but we all know that just simply isn't true. So what about alternatives? Well, if you don't want to play Minecraft anymore, I don't blame you. Which is why I, for one, have looking at a game, a free and open source game called Minetest. June of this month, Minetest Rubenwardy has been working on a settings redesign, and X2048 is working on adding post-processing to Minetest. Trader has received 2 long requested features, which is a minigame, as well as Exile was updated with giant rings, as well as gameplay features. Many things going on in this community. They've been updating the engine, they've been updating many things, honestly, and there are so many mods that are available for this game. Now, be warned, if you go into it, it's not Minecraft. But it is worth checking out, especially since it's free, and especially since it's open source. And, of course, it is written in C++ and Lua, making it very accessible, especially with the Lua part. So, of course, that's something that should be looked at a lot, since it is, again, free open source software, and it is alternative to what is now corporate controlled. Speaking of Microsoft ruining things, I know it's a bit late for me to get on this, but better late than never, especially since it's still relevant. Microsoft Office 0-day Follina exploit. It's not a bug, it's a feature, but trust me, it's a bug. I will be linking down in the description a video from the Mental Outlaw who will go further in depth on this, but I'll give you a little bit of an overview. There is a mitigation for this issue offered by Microsoft that consists of an alternative method to unregister the MSDT URL protocol. Several researchers have come across a novel attack that circumvents Microsoft's protected view and anti-malware detection, making just about everything unstoppable. Essentially, if I am not incorrect, this is an overflow exploit, but the Mental Outlaw does go further into it. So, just know that Microsoft is not fixing this bug in Microsoft Office. It is here to stay. The attack vectors use the Word Remote template features to retrieve an HTML file from a remote web server. It goes on to use the MSDT protocol URL scheme to load some code and then execute some in PowerShell. All the above methods are features, but if we tell you that put together, this allows an attacker to remotely run code on your system by tricking you into clicking a link, that sounds quite disturbing, doesn't it? You better be concerned. That little sequence of features adds up to a 0-day flaw in Microsoft Office that is being abused in the wild to achieve arbitrary code execution on Windows systems. The elegant attack is designed to bypass security products and fly under the radar by leveraging Microsoft Office Remote Template feature and the MSMSDT protocol to execute malicious code, all without the need for macros. So disabling macros is not going to help you here, which is of course a major security thing. Yes, having macros disabled can indeed keep you more secure in Microsoft Office. However, as we see, it is not using those. Of course, the mental outlaw will be going over this a lot more in depth than I said multiple times, but he does, and he even goes ahead and demonstrates it. So, the link in the description below. An old game that I played a lot back on Windows recently got a Linux port. Cursed Forward, originally called Cuisine Royale. It is a free game. It is not open source, but it is free from Gaijin, the same guys who made War Thunder and Enlisted. This game has gotten its Linux port. It works on SteamOS, which is based on Arch Linux, so I can confirm it does work on Arch Linux, and I'll even do a gameplay video eventually. It also runs well on other systems such as Fedora. It is Steam Deck verified, and this announcement proves very well. But there are some issues with getting it to work on desktop, and I will go over those in the video that is involved in the gameplay. Of course, if you wish to see the game later, you may go right ahead. I will also have the Steam link in the description below. Direct3D to Vulkan Layer DXVK version 1.10.2 is up with lots of fixes. There are multiple fixes now. Implementing non-seamless cube maps for D3D9 using the VKXT, this long extension. I will link the description below. All of this will be linked below. Extension if supported by the driver. Many games have had many fixes too, such as Beyond Good and Evil, DayZ, Dead Space, Dirt Rally, Godfather, and many more. This is all good because gaming on Linux matters, and not being able to game on Linux, I should be logged in, not being able to game on Linux is very horrible because many people are always talking about how Windows always has so much bloat in it. It's always so broken. It falls apart all the time. But as soon as you bring Linux to them, they spit in your face. It only makes sense to at least try out the Linux kernel as an operating system. For all my fellow wine users, just straight up raw wine. Game crashes after system updates. This is a problem that has been found recently. Posted by Natani. So as title says, I have noticed that each time there are updates, the game I use Wine for, World of Tanks, for example, refuses to play fully. It will act like it is playing, then crashes shortly after. Only solution so far is to reboot my PC. What troubleshooting can I do to figure out the cause? Of course, a long-term veteran, J.K. Flores, has responded to this issue. He said, and I quote, "If the update also updates parts of the graphics card driver, especially NVIDIA, seeing as how they are proprietary drivers, then many 3D applications will not work properly until the graphics environment of Wine itself is rebooted. Without knowing which parts have been updated, it is difficult to give a proper, full, concise answer." I did not necessarily completely quote him, but I am of course giving it a little bit more detail to get further into what it all means, just so it isn't anything that might appear as broad isn't as broad. Of course, Latani replied, "Oh, thanks. Makes sense. That makes sense. So I guess I should look at what the updates are to maybe help determine what was the update." Now, I for one before never had this issue when I was updating graphics drivers and playing games with Wine back on Linux Mint, however, and that may be different depending on the setup that Natani uses. This will be linked in the description below. A new ISO image of Arch Linux has been released as of recently. The July 1st, 2022 release, including kernel 5.18.7. It will be in the description below. As far as I know, not many changes. But again, it's Arch Linux, and it's nice to see that it's being updated more and more. But why am I mentioning this? It's just a small Arch update. It probably isn't even an update. Well, a friend of mine has begun working on his own operating system built off of the Linux kernel. Now, it's not really a professional, legitimate operating system. It's all meant to be a big joke. But he is working on it nonetheless. And he says that he should be done within due time. He will be giving me an ISO image that I can do a review of. It will most likely be Manjaro based still, but he plans to make it pure raw Arch eventually. But with that out of the way, this will be linked in the description. Everything will be linked in the description below. And of course, I will link his channel in the description below. ChocoMilk, the developer of the QuandaleOS. Thank you for watching the video. Please like, comment, subscribe to hack the algorithm. Please do not strike me again, YouTube. And I'll see you in the next video. I have a lot of stuff to do right now. See you later.